Alright everyone, link in the description, archived of course to a Federalist article. Now the Federalist is not legacy media. I don't mean to put shade on them because they generally do a good job. They're more missing link media, which is like, media that's organized but it's just cyber only, sort of like online media. And that's not a pejorative, by the way. There are missing link media outlets like the Federalist that do a good job. But for every Federalist, there's also a salon. So I use that term in a non-pejorative sense. It just has to do with the style of the media. Legacy media is beginning to notice, and again, this is not legacy media, but it's just an exemplar of the basic topic, is beginning to notice that Kamala Harris is effectively hiding. Took them a few weeks. I was saying it right off the bat. It was predictable what they were going to do. They did this strategy with Biden in 2020. Try to keep him out of the spotlight as much as possible. Now, back then, they had plausible deniability. They could say, well, the president doesn't want anyone to get sick. So he does fewer public appearances. They're more low-key. There's not a lot of press around. I mean, when you can only attract 20 or 30 people to your audience, sort of like Chelsea Clinton in the broom closet mode. But Harris doesn't have that plausible deniability. They're trying to astroturf, I think, a monkeypox outbreak right now in order to justify it, maybe. Maybe they'll spring on that and say, well, the vice president doesn't want to go out in public because, she goes to a lot of orgies, which she probably does, and she doesn't want to fuck an audience member and give them monkeypox or something like that. And they're beginning to notice. Even like CNN and MSNBC and the others, they're becoming wary because it's like, okay, it's been, more than 3 weeks now. You've not held a presser. You're a presidential candidate. You've held a few rallies, and you did get, bigger crowds than Biden got. But we want to talk to you. We're literally circling wagons for you on a 24-hour basis to try to defend your campaign against evil orange man, against Drumpf. But you're not even willing to give us an interview. You're not willing to talk to us. And there are several reasons for this. The first reason that Kamala Harris doesn't want to go out in public, and I'm sure she's been strenuously advised by those around her that this is the operative strategy. I don't think that she herself necessarily concocted it on her own. She's brain dead. She's a psychopath. She probably wants to go before large crowds of people so that she can sloganeer to them and feel special and important. Whoever's calling the shots with regards to the actual campaign, notice several things. Number one, Kamala Harris has a tendency to burst out in awkward laughter at exactly the wrong moments. Number two, she's very bad at dealing with hecklers. We saw this a few days ago with her Detroit rally when she did the sassy woman thing, I'm speaking to the Gaza protesters. Well, if you're trying to straddle that line, especially right ahead of the convention, that ain't a good tone to set. And number three, she's vacuous. That is, that there's no real platform there. There's only a few issues on which we know where Kamala Harris, at least in her own words, actually stands. And of course, with Kamala Harris, you never know if she's actually going to honor those commitments at all. We know she wants to literally confiscate people's firearms, which would not go over well. We know that she doesn't want taxes on tips, but she borrowed that from the Donald Trump campaign. You don't know much else about her. I mean, I can't name her position. She wants to let the tax cuts that Trump passed lapse. All right, well, that's basically your platform. It's 3 fucking issues, on none of which you align, by the way, with the larger, broader public. Yeah, the main public wants more gun control. They don't want people going door to door confiscating every rifle. The average American doesn't want taxes on tips, but again, you didn't even dream that up. You literally copied somebody's homework. I mean, you'd get an F from the teacher if you were in school, and you tacked that closely to someone else's exam answers, then the red flag might go up, etc., etc., etc. And I don't think the average person, if they really understood the tax structure, would want the tax cuts that Trump passed to lapse. Trump and Vance are doubling down on the child tax credit. It was another issue, by the way, which the Biden administration tried to steal. They made a big stink several years ago about how they were, improving the tax credit. All they did is, instead of making it a write-off as Trump had done, They took the same amount and they made it a front-end disbursement, which I believe is also taxable income, if I remember correctly. So they actually screwed it up, but they were still trying to claim credit for it. Legacy media is beginning to notice that Kamala Harris is literally in hiding. She'll go to a few rallies and she'll hold a few events, but she doesn't want to do a presser. She doesn't want to sit down for an interview. She doesn't want to do anything to keep her out of the public spotlight is basically the operative strategy because she's so uniquely unlikable. People don't like her. The more they're exposed to her, the more the Kasich effect wears off, and the more people get turned off to her campaign. The only reason why she's even got, and this is only a possibility, we're not even sure because of polling static and chaos in data, the only reason that she has a very, very small lead, like 5 points less than Clinton's lead in 2016, which I believe she lost that election, then whined about it for an excessive period of time. That only reason is because people don't know as much about her. That is, the Kasich effect is based. I'll explain it one last time. I don't want to have to bring it up, constantly. The Kasich effect is my term for what happened in 2016. Kasich correctly identified that he fared better against Hillary Clinton in polling than any other mainline candidate. So you had Trump, Cruz, Rubio, and Kasich. He was fourth in the polls, but he matched up best against her. There's an inverse correlation between the amount of attention that you've gotten, the amount that people know about you, and your electability. To an extent, of course. There are always partisans and things like that. People who ideologically align with you. But if you are a poor candidate, it makes more sense to remain silent. Because anytime Kamala Harris speaks, if she speaks for more than 10 minutes, she makes fucking mistakes. At the DNC, for example, I fully expect there will be a hilarious laughing moment where there will probably be a lot of misandry there. She'll be like, oh, well, sometimes it takes a woman to do a man's work, or something like that. And she's going to turn off certain voters as a result of that. Meanwhile, outside, those Gaza protesters that you insulted at your last rally in Detroit are planning to assemble like 5,000 to 10,000 people outside of the convention hall. Whether or not they switch the convention location at the last minute to try to confuse the protesters remains to be seen. Legacy media is noticing these things. More, they're actually talking about them, to an extent. They're still pulling punches and circling wagons, but they're getting pissed because they want those exclusive interviews and shit like that. They want to get you on the record to actually talk about the thing. They like you. They want you to explain all of the wonderful policies you're going to pursue. Unfortunately, we've only got 3 or 4 of them, and several of them suck dick, and the other one was stolen from your opponent's campaign. I think there's a reason why they're trying to hide in Harris. That's about all. Peace out.